Doug Mater, you come up with some topics that kind of give me the willies. I don't like scorpions. In fact, they give me the willies. There's no other creature that does, but they freak me out with those curled up tails. They look like monsters. So
Yeah.
tell me about people that want to have them as pets.
Tracy, once again, thanks for having me join you and share some thoughts with your listeners. Yeah, pet scorpions, they got to be one of the creepiest things on earth.
Yes.
And I think that's why people are so fascinated with them.
Oh,
They are truly prehistoric. They're considered to be one of the oldest living animals on the face of the earth, and the scientists figure that they've been around basically unchanged for over 200 million years. Just because of
my God.
their body form, their body style, everything about them makes them suitable for lasting forever. There's Again, it's a niche or a cult audience that likes to
Okay.
have pets because
Okay.
like your reaction, most people when they think of a scorpion, what do they think of? They think of, oh, grab the first shoe I can find and squat it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Squash.
uh yeah, the thing is I think they make really cool pets. I had one for years, in which
You
to
did?
kind of start off with it, they're not a real long-lived pet. Some of the tarantulas that we've talked about in the past can live 20, 25 years.
Oh my.
Scorpions, maybe 4 or 5 years with some of the species, but they still make good pets. So you think about a lot of the small mammal pets that people get, like mice and stuff, they don't live much longer than that anyway. So it's about the same. In the United States, here where we live, there are several species of scorpions. Most of them, fortunately, and this is important for you to know, especially where you live, most of the scorpions in the United States are non-poisonous. Okay.
Okay.
Only some of the ones in the southwestern deserts, like Cinchurortes sculptatus, they are the ones that if you get bit, it's just sit down and enjoy the last few minutes that you have because they can be pretty nasty. They have a painful bite and they've got a lot of toxins in them. But again, most of the scorpions in the United States, they're harmless. They can sting. It's like a bee sting and it's annoying. Some people can have an anaphylactic reaction to a scorpion sting, just like they can to a bee sting. Where I live now, I live on an island in the tropics, and we do see quite a few scorpion stings, mostly in cats because the cats
Oh,
are curious and they go over to see what it is and they
sure.
pounce at it and the scorpion, boop, and they get them in the face and they come in with their faces swollen. But
Ooh,
that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about keeping them as pets because I do think they're fascinating and they're actually fairly easy keepers. And again, going in today's society where a lot of us don't have a big yard for a dog or a big apartment, but we can have enough space on our desk, like right behind me, I got that little
yeah.
terrarium. That's
Yes.
perfect for a small scorpion. There's about 4 or 5 that are real common on the pet market, but I think the three that are the most common, one is called the African Emperor, and you've probably seen pictures of it. That's the one they always
Wow.
use in the horror movies. They're really big, they're jet black, they're covered with heavy black armor, and they just look like they're so ominous, something right out of a movie.
Yes. Yeah.
But the thing is, they tend to be very gentle. They tend not to sting. They do have large, what they call pedipalps, which are their claws, and they can pinch. So they can pinch you, and that hurts. In fact, when the emperors catch their prey, they usually catch their prey and then they just basically rip them apart with their
Oh
claws and
my
eat them.
goodness.
Whereas the other scorpions will sting them, and then after it dies, then they eat it. But the emperors tame down really well. And emperor scorpions, you can actually handle them and hold them and things like that. The other two that are common are the Malaysian, which is probably maybe the second most common. And they look a lot like the emperor scorpion, but just not quite as large. And then finally, there's something called Hydrurus, also known as the hairy scorpion, which is very common, but they're very delicate and they do sting, and their sting it's not going to kill you, but it hurts. But people like them because they're very delicate looking. And the hairy scorpion is one of the ones you don't want to handle because they're so delicate. And if it does sting you, what happens when people get stung or bitten?
Drop it.
Ow! And
Now
then
you lost your scorpion.
yeah, and then boom, it flies across the room, hits the wall, falls on the floor, and then it breaks a leg or breaks a tail. And so probably the single most common medical problem that I see in pet scorpions is when people drop them accidentally or drop something on them and then they break. The good news is that they molt. And when they molt, they just grow another leg or they just grow
No
another,
kidding.
yeah, they grow
No
another stinger.
kidding.
So
Wow.
the emperors are really hardy. The hairy scorpions are super cool, but they're not quite as hardy because they're a lot more delicate. But anyway, talk a little bit about husbandry and stuff.
Yes. What do
Again,
they eat?
they're super easy keepers, which if you're a person that works all day long and you can't get home at lunch to take your dog out for a walk,
Right.
or you travel and you don't want to leave food for the cat and have to worry about cleaning the litter
Right.
box, you don't have to worry about that with a scorpion because most of them go a week or so between meals. Some of the really big ones, like maybe some of the emperors, might eat twice a week. They don't really make any noise, so they're great. So your neighbors aren't complaining about a barking dog. They can live, as I said, they live up to about 4 years. They do, as they grow, they molt, and the molts can take about 3 to 4 hours. So you don't want to handle them when they're molting. And that's when they basically shed out their outer exoskeleton, and then the new
Wow.
exoskeleton, the new animal emerges from. And that's when if they break off a leg, they'll grow a new leg.
Is that something that owners like to see, the molt? Is it fascinating to
It
watch?
is. It really is really cool to watch. The thing is that most people don't see it because it happens at night.
I
Scorpions are nocturnal animals. That's
okay.
the one downside of them is that they are nocturnal. So if you want something that's going to be running around your cage during the day, scorpions are not the pet to have. In fact, bright lights, you shouldn't even have a light on your scorpion cage because bright lights actually can be harmful for them. It causes too much stress.
Wow.
It would be like if you lived in the North Pole and had 24 hours of light every single
Yeah.
day during the summer. People, they go
Drive
through
mad.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it drives you crazy. Um, Other things too is when they're about to molt, they go for maybe a day or two without eating. So what oftentimes I get calls from people that have pet scorpions. My scorpion normally eats. I bought a scorpion 3 months ago and it normally eats every day or every week. Last week it didn't eat and probably it's going to molt. So they don't eat right before they molt. Once they molt, it takes a little bit of time when the air touches the new exoskeleton for the exoskeleton to get hard. And then once it hardens up, then they'll go ahead and they'll go back to their normal food.
Interesting.
Yeah,
And
it's pretty cool.
what is their normal food?
Boy, they eat anything from little things like waxworms, mealworms, grubs, other small worms. The bigger ones will eat things like mouse pups,
Yeah,
emperor
yeah.
scorpions. They'll actually take a baby mouse and they'll eat that.
So you buy baby mice?
Frozen. There's
I
companies that
see.
sell frozen mice. They call them
Okay.
mousicles.
And
So
little ones.
yes,
Do you put it, you have to defrost it first?
yeah, put it in some warm water so it's not hot. If you put it in a cup of boiling water, you're going to cook the mouse. You don't want to feed them cooked mice. Just warm it up. Warm it up to a little bit
Sorry to
above room
laugh.
temperature. Probably one of the most common mistakes that I see are husbandry issues, and that is people who live in New England and they have their temperature set at 68 degrees
Right.
and the humidity is 15%. That's going to dry them out. It's too cold for them and it dries them out. They're tropical. Most of them are tropical or hot weather animals. And then depending on the species, again, you have to do your research. We don't have time today to talk about all. Anywhere
Right.
from about 65 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. The big emperors, they like it warmer, 80, 85 degrees, and they like the humidity up there, 60, 70% humidity.
Wow.
They like it nice and moist. Otherwise, they get dehydrated, and then you can put water in the cage for them. And when I put it in a water dish, you want to put a sponge in it or rocks so that they don't fall in there and drown so they can walk across the sponge and suck the moisture out of the sponge,
Interesting.
or walk across the pebbles and suck the moisture from between the pebbles, but you don't want them falling into a water dish and drowning. Again, usually when there's problems, it's mistakes that people make in husbandry. Temperatures that are above 90 for prolonged periods of time tend to cause heat stress. Again, too much light causes stress to their environment or to their
Right.
system because they're nocturnal animals. Those are the main things about these guys. Again, the emperors, the big ugly ones, I think they're fascinating. They can be handheld. You just be gentle with them. And if you work with them all the time, they're not going to pinch you. The hairy scorpions, I don't recommend hand holding those. They
Right.
do make scorpion forceps. They're really light and
Oh my
delicate. So you can
goodness.
just, if you need to move it out of the cage, you can
Oh,
reach in
right.
with the forceps and gently pick it up by the mid body and then just move it to a cleaning cage when you're cleaning out the cage and then pick it up with the forceps and put it back. Or you can get a little cup and you can put the cup in the cage and you can scooch it into the cup and it'll crawl in the cup and then you pick up the cup. So again, you don't have to physically touch it with your hands. So there's all sorts of pretty cool ways you can do things like that. And again, medically, they don't need vaccines. You don't have to take them for a walk at lunch during the middle of the day. Again, probably the number one thing that I see is trauma from people and dropping it, or the number two thing is just husbandry issues where they're kept too hot or too cold or they're too dry, and then they tend to get dehydrated. But
So,
otherwise, they make fascinating pets. And as far as feeding them goes, you asked about the mice. There
yeah.
are some really high quality companies out there that sell frozen mice. And you buy a 6 pack, a 12 pack, whatever you want to get, and you put it in the freezer. And then, when it's time to feed them, you just take out one of the mice and you thaw it and you feed it to them.
And they're humanely raised and killed.
Yeah.
Let's just explain that again. A gas or something. They kill.
Most of them use gas, which is CO2, and it's a humane way to do it. It doesn't affect the quality of the mouse as a food item or anything else.
Okay.
Right.
So that people don't feel too guilty. Does Zoo Med is our main sponsor. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't even have the show, basically. Although we have many other wonderful sponsors that people can check out. They really are great. One of my favorite is Scratches, the app for people that have exotic animals and want to find each other, either romantically or platonically. All of you pet scorpion lovers, sign up for the Scratches app and find each other. But does Zoo Med make some sort of specific scorpion environments or
Zoo Med makes some great terrariums, wonderful terrariums, and they have really quality cage furniture. And one of the things that's important for scorpions is to have a hide box, because even if you don't have external lights on the scorpion, during the daytime, they're nocturnal animals, so they like to hide. So Zoo Med makes some great little hide boxes and cage
yeah,
furniture and terrariums. They have really wonderful setups for scorpions. And actually, thank you, because you just brought up a really good point. Many scorpions glow at night. So if you have black light, like the kind you use on your Elvis poster, if you shine a black light on a scorpion at night, they glow blue and they're super cool.
wow.
That is just the coolest thing ever. So and it won't scare and it won't hurt the scorpion. So if you have a scorpion at night and you have in a pet cage and your friends are over, turn the lights off in the room, walk into the room of the cage with a blue light or a black light and shine it on the cage, and your scorpion will be glowing blue.
That's really neat. My next question was, since they are nocturnal and they crave the dark, is there some clever way to have a terrarium that is black for the scorpion, but you could still see them? Or that's
Well, what a lot of the big zoos do, the big facilities that
yeah,
and museums and things like that, they have them in a dark room. So they have reverse light cycles.
yeah,
So the cage, you walk into the room with closed doors, the whole room is dark, and then the cage has very low level lighting in it.
right.
Oftentimes they might even have black lights in there too. So when you walk through and you look at the exhibits, you'll see the scorpion using the black light effect. But again, they almost always have the places that display them almost always have them in reverse light cycles. Now, oftentimes, again, not being disrespectful, but in pet stores, they want to sell them. They have them in brightly lit cages, and then
Yeah.
the scorpions are usually hiding in their hide box, and so you can't see them very well.
Hiding and unhappy. All right, I'm
Right.
just going to tell one story about the scorpions in Italy because I've mentioned in other shows periodically, I mentioned something about having a farmhouse in Tuscany. And wow, they're old buildings. They use most of the farmhouses, all of them. They house cattle on the ground floor, and then the humans were above. So when they got restored for modern people, the ground floor was still incredibly damp, even though they do many things to eliminate the damp. It's still got many decades, if not 100 years of damp. So the scorpions are there. And sometimes you go to turn on the light in a dark room and you're like, ah! There's a scorpion just near the light switch and you just want to about die. When you go to sleep at night, you always park your slippers up against the wall because you do not want to get up in the middle of the night or in the morning to put on your slipper and there's a scorpion in it. And that happens a lot. And they do sting. Now, the other thing, I had this wonderful woman who helped take care of the place, and she was from the south of Italy, where there's a great deal of superstition about many things. And they have, and I guess the south of Italy being hotter must have lots of scorpions as well. They do a kind of, I'm going to call it ritual, but you take the scorpion out and you burn it. Now, I don't know if yeah, there's like a scorpion burning thing after you smash them with the slipper that they weren't in. you burn the scorpion. I'll have to look into what that supposedly represents, but it's supposed to, I don't know, remove the evil scorpions or remove evil in general. I'll look into it, but I obviously don't think people with pet scorpions want to either smack them or burn them. But they definitely have a place in a culture where scorpions are frequently seen and unloved. So it's nice to know that there are some scorpions that have human love. So that's a good thing, right?
Oh yeah, and I mean even make big movies about him. Remember the Scorpion King?
Oh, yeah.
I'll leave you with one last vision.
Okay.
When the scorpions have their babies, they carry their babies on their back. So there's nothing cooler than seeing a scorpion walk across the floor with about 100 babies sitting on their
Oh,
back.
my God. Do you have a picture of that?
I do.
Oh, my God. So you guys, when you're listening to this, definitely check out when you see it on the weekly e-newsletter because he is an amazing photographer. You're one of the best photographers I've ever known, even
Uh,
amongst people who do only that for a living. But we're going to get to see a scorpion with 100 babies going for a stroll. Thank you so much, Doug, for all
all
your
right, Tracy, thanks
take
again.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.